welcome to News Today on the Joy News channel. We're also on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. Coming up, Supertruck kills 2 people on the spot after crashing into a stationary commercial vehicle along the busy Pankrono road. Details as residents vent their anger on the truck by smashing its windscreen. Also, residents of the Amansi South in the Ashanti region embark on a demonstration to protest the deteriorating roads in the area. We have the latest. Also in this hour, government says its commitment to mitigating the negative effect of climate change is evident in its fight against illegal mining and its national afforestation agenda. We have the latest from the ongoing climate change conference in Glasgow as Lands and Natural Resources Minister addresses the gathering of the world. And in our first story, a Supertruck has crashed into a stationary commercial vehicle, killing 2 people on the spot. Incensed by the incident, angry residents of Pankrono in Kumasi smashed the windscreen of the truck. According to eyewitnesses, the truck, which was fully loaded with sand, developed a fault and was abandoned by the busy Pankrono road. Driver of the Sanyong minibus and a woman on board the vehicle died instantly. Residents are blaming the local assembly for failing to tow the stationary vehicle, which they say may have accounted for the accident. Let's hear from some of them.
And none of I sorry, how much better 2 o'clock. The dozen it is a bit power. It's money, sorry, and a poor car. The 2 and a car, I will rise here. You can't be rise here, not over in India, 1 o'clock, and in Sabako Prad, that's it. Mamma, so Time cranny into me, mamma, yet Shinkakra, and Sunny to me, mamma, so I'm Friday on through. The car was in yard 1 corner, no good to me, and that's the front wall. The sea and of one. That can't see what can't derby and see one chair. If you see what and run, some sea and it's your best. You will say 5:30 to 6. Now can you see? And I go, may a drop and Yamanam Tafu, may a man for drobber. Tibet said, not drag your drop every day. Can be in a car. Munam Quazo, the paper, police vote, Muninamo, Cobacana, says here. And I'm saying, Jobu can, the can't yes, yes, Macana be Comunipa. 2:30 the cannabis is here, Montinia, Mexican and Peru. A bomb Comunipa, the other Mabicana, I was
Away from that, scores of residents of Amansi South in the Ashanti region have embarked on a demonstration to protest the deteriorating roads in the area. The residents, clad in red, are holding placards, some of which read, "Enough of the bad roads, we swim in the mud, we breathe dust, and Amansi South deserves better." Here's one of the residents who spoke with our sister station, Shira FM.
Kwabena say Kwabena kwanya mi afafia kai se betu amna ni wakwa yi mu amna na timaka nyina Kwabena mo de fa kwa yi so amna ade da kwa yi mu sa Kwabena say mo me ko tale adai ni na kwa fu wo so sa aha wo se mo ya dan wa ha sei etu go do ya ma yi kwa yi so ya twati ma fa kwa yi so afen so no ehia no ma bebre hospital kwa ba nyina ha no mo nam ene se kwa ya twa amna eni ba bia amfa kai sentimi mba ensu ata ne ka ensu ja enti ne ka konsia enti mba kuro ni mu enti abeltwa wani na be wachi na boy.
My colleague Nanaya Jima joins me live with the latest. Nanaya, what's the status of the protest?
The protest ended with the demonstrators presenting a petition to the district assembly. Their demands are that the roads within the district, especially the major ones, are fixed for them to have easy passage, especially when they are moving from here to the regional capital of Kumasi. So that has been the major issue or the reason for the protest today. The people are also demanding that government claims that the road has been awarded on contract. They want the contractor to be back to the site or to be seen on the road, at least doing some work, so that they know that before the government ends the tenure, their roads will be fixed.
Now, did they present any petition to the local authorities?
Exactly. The coordinator for the district assembly received the petition on behalf of the district chief executive. So a petition has been presented to the assembly to be forwarded to the president through the Ashanti regional minister.
And is there a deadline for this work to be done?
No, they didn't issue an ultimatum.
Okay.
What they are saying is that they hope that government, for the end of the NPP tenure or the tenure of the President Akufo-Addo, so that and they are claiming that if they refuse to do so in 2024, the area which is one of the strongholds of the NPP in the Ashanti region will rather vote contrary to what they've been doing in the previous years.
All right, thank you so much. That is Nanao Jima giving us an update of that protest. But away from that, tensions reached a boiling point in Parliament yesterday over the controversy surrounding the election of MMDCs in the country. This was after the Duffuor MP, Kwabena Duffuor, had read a statement on the floor demanding action from the House over the way some of the approvals had been carried out amidst allegations of vote buying, among others. Now, the MP cited the case of the Duffuor district, where a presiding member is challenging the approval of the DCE nominee, which he alleges was conducted on the blind side of assembly members. Speaking on the floor of the House, Mr. Kondo, in re-echoing the sentiments of the presiding member that the confirmation process is null and void, and urged the House to probe questionable elections of some of the nominees.
Parliament today was thrown into a state of confusion and disagreement over the election of MMDCs. This was after the Member of Parliament for Duffuor constituency made a statement on the floor of the House asking Parliament to probe the circumstances and controversy surrounding the confirmation of some of the MMDCs.
If efforts are not made to redirect Ghana's democratic vessel back to the path of virtue, we may end up like the unfortunate stories of military revolt or coup d'etats and social unrest across the continent with their attendant socioeconomic stagnation and retrogression. As legislators or members of Parliament, we have through democratic process emerged as voices for countless thousands. For this reason, we must raise our voices against such acts that have the likelihood of getting us back to the dark ages. For this reason, I would like to call on Parliament as a House to constitute a probe into areas where these schemes are reported to have taken place and to propose measures to rectify the situation. This is not a cause to be left at the doorstep of the executive or presidency. This is not an issue that should only be dealt with by the ruling MPP. This is not an MPP Ghana or Nana Akufo-Addo's Ghana. This is our country, and we must cure this cancer before it kills all of us. Mr. Speaker, may God protect and preserve our democracy. I'm most grateful for the opportunity.
Really bad. I watched your documentary.
Well, his comment didn't go down well with some members of the majority, including the local government minister, Damboche. Mr. Damboche was on the floor of the House, raised concerns over the statement and questioned why the speaker would admit such statements. This led to a series of debates and disagreements on the floor.
Mr. Speaker, how is the ruling NPP involved in the process of confirmation of MNDCs? For it to appear in such a statement which have been admitted on this floor. This is not NPP Ghana or Akufo-Addo's Ghana. Totally baseless, unwarranted, and I'm surprised that this statement has been admitted on the floor of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Because in the law, we make the law.
Mr. Minister.
The act is approved here.
Minister for Local Government, give us some insights into the processes. But in doing that, you don't impugn the sense of judgment of Mr. Speaker by saying that you are surprised that
that statement was admitted.
You should withdraw.
I think that this is so inappropriate.
This is the only house we have.
Unparliamentary, and that Honorable Damboche is a very respected member of this house. I know he will do the right thing by withdrawing that statement.
He comes to the House of Parliament to tell us that we should form a committee to investigate. Investigate what? Mr. Speaker, I expect our colleagues to immediately build consensus with us on the way forward regarding election of MMDCs. Mr. Speaker, they are making noise.
We are not making noise, please. We are not making noise. Mr. Speaker, please direct him to do the needful. You should do the proper thing.
Leader, when you say somebody is making noise, I mean, in your own assessment, what is it? When you were in school, if you are talking in a classroom,
making noise, it means that whatever the person is saying has no sense. It's not sensible. That is what is meant by making noise.
Now, the Speaker, in an attempt to restore calm, resolved to step the statement down and wait for an appropriate day for members of the House to have a proper debate on the matter. For Joy News, I'm Chrissy Parker-Wilson, reporting from Parliament.
Let's go back to the Pankrono accident where 2 people were killed on the spot after a tipper truck crashed into a stationary vehicle. My colleague Erastus Donko joins me with more. Erastus, tell us more about the incident and the victims.
Well, so this happened around 2 a.m. On the Duffuor Pankrono stretch, precisely in front of the hotel called La Posada. Now, on a day, I would say that this is a very busy, traffic-prone area, so the impact would have been less. But then at dawn and getting to 5 a.m., where many of the people coming in from the other end, Atebubu and its environs, bringing in west to sell at Kejitia, the road is a very busy lane where drivers speed a lot on that particular stretch. I'm getting complaints from police indicating that even when they mount a checkpoint on that road, drivers refuse to stop and reduce their speed. So that is how bad the nature of that particular stretch at dawn is. This truck belongs to Kofi Job Construction Limited, and it was parked, I'm learning, from yesterday around 10 a.m. when it developed a fault. They left it by the roadside, eating deep into the night, when at dawn, this vehicle, Sanyon minivan, coming in from Atebubu, carrying vegetables, garden eggs, pepper, okra, and other stuff for sale, rammed into its rear, killing the trader instantly and the driver as well. Now, the trader has been identified. The trader who died has been identified as Joyce Kunadu, 50 years, and Bashiru Abubakar, 34, who is the driver. They all died on the spot. Currently, as we speak, the driver of the tipper truck has been arrested. One, Yusuf Shaibu, 54 years, is in police custody, assisting in investigation.
All right, Erastus, now can you tell us who the driver of the stationary vehicle is? Do we know who he is?
Yes, like I said, he is Yusuf Shaibu, 54.
Okay.
And the vehicle belongs to Kofi Job Construction Limited.
Okay. All right, so that is Erastus Donko giving us an update of the Pankrono accident that happened this dawn. Now, government says its commitment to mitigating the negative effects of climate change is evident in its rigorous fight against illegal mining and its current afforestation agenda. The Lands and Forestry Minister Samuel Abu Jinapor told a meeting organized by the U.S. Leaf Coalition on the sidelines of the ongoing UN climate change in Glasgow.
Let me use this opportunity to thank the governments of the United States, the United Kingdom and Norway, as well as all the companies that came together to launch this all-important initiative. Let me also use the opportunity on behalf of the government and the President of our country to thank former Secretary of State and the U.S. envoy on climate change for his outstanding leadership. The climate crisis, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, is a very serious one, and we are at a tipping point. And indeed, forest is a key ingredient for the global effort at coming to grips with the issue of climate change. We are told by the experts, for instance, that forest conservation alone can contribute to 30% of reduction in emissions. And so forest is very key. And we also appreciate the complex issues relating to forests and the syndicates around the management of forests and the difficulties with coming to grips with holding up to the situation of our forests. And Ghana is not an exception, which is why we are particularly happy that this coalition is being put together and we've been invited to be part of it. We are told that forest is the lungs of the earth. It couldn't have been said any better. And so the quest for us to protect our forest cover, engage in aggressive afforestation and reforestation is very consequential on the global effort at halting climate change. But of course, despite the knowledge we have about the role of forests in terms of how we are going to come to grips with the issue of climate change, financing is key. And it's been a lot of talk and it's been a lot of commitments after commitment. And yet we've still not been able to mobilize the requisite financing to be able to come to grips with this situation. I mean, we know, for instance, that the developed countries promise $100 billion every year to support developing countries in our climate change actions. And yet we've still not been able to realize this goal. That is disturbing, which is why I think that this LEAF coalition is a very important initiative. And it's an initiative that the government and people of Ghana fully endorse and support. We are very happy that this morning we've had the opportunity to sign the letter of intent, and hopefully we will be able to take this to the next stage to be able to protect the forest cover of Ghana. Already the government of Ghana, under the distinguished leadership of President Akufo-Addo, is doing a whole lot. This year on June 11th, the president declared that day as the Green Ghana Day, where the president led all of Ghana to plant 7 million trees. We targeted 5 million trees. We've been able to plant 7 million trees. We exceeded the target. Next year, the president is hoping on that same Green Ghana Day to plant 20 million trees. And these are some of the efforts we are making to restore the forest cover of our country. We have a whole robust, ambitious program of a medium to long-term afforestation and reforestation program which seeks to restore the forest cover of our country. But we're not just doing that, we're also taking measures to prevent forest degradation and deforestation. One of the major issues confronting the forest sector of our country is mining. Ghana is very rich in minerals, and there's been an upsurge in recent and many years to come. Many years ago, there's been an upsurge in illegal mining in our country, and that results in forest degradation and deforestation. And so the government is putting in a lot of measures to be able to sanitize that sector and stop illegal mining and mining generally from resulting in deforestation and forest degradation.
Let's go to Zoom, where my colleague Seth Kwame joins us from Glasgow for more. Now, Seth, what more can you report from today's session?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
So the Minister of Lands just finished a meeting, an event, speaking about how Ghana is making sure that we preserve our forest reserves and also do more to protect the environment. I have with me here the Deputy Minister for Lands in charge. In fact, he's the one directly in charge of afforestation. And from here, I'll also be speaking to the MP for Tamale North, Al-Hassan Suhini, Honorable. He has also been in some of the meetings. So tell me, Deputy Minister, the president yesterday came here and he was shocked after a meeting where he was told that Ghana was among a few countries fast depleting their forest reserves. How do you take that one, and how do we move from here?
Yes, the president yesterday mentioned that he was shocked about what we've done as a nation in the past. And we all know what had happened. years back, there's been a lot of deforestation, forest degradation through agriculture, through illegal mining, and all the vices that we can mention. And so when it was mentioned, and then Ghana as a country being mentioned among some few countries whose forest cover have depleted at a faster rate, yes, that was much of concern to him. And the president, aside that, is a very committed person. Yes, he's wound up, and he's here promising the world that as the leader in charge of the country, he is going to take up the mantle and ensure that we do aggressive afforestation. He mentioned what we did this year in terms of the Green Ghana, and that, he said, was the beginning. Next year, instead of 5, we're doing 20 million, and that is not all. Ghana as a country, we're looking at the various drivers of deforestation, particularly with agriculture, where you have that of the cocoa issues, and then also that with the share landscape, with cocoa board and forestry coming together and ensuring that they partner up, and with the collaboration with the farmers, ensure that the farmers plant more trees on their farms, because the cocoa also needs the shade.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. And now we'll continue, but let me also have, or I have with me here the MP for Tamale North, Honorable Alhassa Suhini. You have been in a number of these meetings, the negotiations. So far, how is it going for Ghana?
Well, so far, I must say that I'm impressed with the civil society organizations and NGOs in the sector. Their representation has been quite impressive. They seem very prepared and seem to know the field that they are operating in. And in all the meetings that I have attended, they have, even as they highlight the problems, also presented very, very useful solutions, especially in the canvassing support for funding that will go a long way to improve our climate. I must also commend the technical officers that the Ministry and the Forestry Commission and others have come with. They seem very well briefed and very well, knowledgeable in the fields that they have been tasked to handle. And since arriving and attending some of the meetings, I am impressed with the work that many of them have done even before today, in terms of the presentations that they have had to make, in terms of the follow-ups to get funding for some of the programs that the government have in mind. I've been impressed generally with the output of the technical staff of the various government institutions.
Yesterday, the president was asking of you, and you said you listened to him. What's your reaction to what he told the world on behalf of Africa?
Well, I think that generally he gave an impressive speech. That is not surprising. I have said so many times that he tends to make very good speeches. It is usually what happens after the speech. That's the problem. But yesterday he touched on the issues that I thought were relevant. For example, the disappointment that we all feel about the failure of world superpowers, who through their industrialization has contributed significantly to the bad climate that we all have to deal with. The fact that they haven't been able to live up to their own promise of raising over $100 billion to support the efforts of the UNFCCC. We are all disappointed, and generally I was happy that the president made a point in his speech and expressed the disappointment of especially developing countries, given the fact that we are at the receiving end of their industrialization, and we at our embryo stage of development are now having to make certain sacrifices for the world without the necessary support to overcome what we are going to lose as a result of those sacrifices that they expect us to make. So I was happy the president made that point succinctly, and I think that going forward, many African leaders must drum this home, especially in these times where we are, saddled with debts, and we will need, like he said, our natural, resources, God-given natural resources to service some of these debts and to come out of these debts. And so if there is a limitation as to how much we can go exploiting those resources, then there must be a counter support by way of, funding from these agencies or debt forgiveness of a sort that will help us, deal with the situation. So generally, I think the president spoke well. He highlighted things that I think are generally of concern, not of Ghana alone, but of Africa in general, as we discuss climate change. But we need to ensure that we also do our homework seriously.
That's right.
I mean, I've interacted with a number of the non-governmental organizations, and they will expect better collaboration and cooperation from government institutions, because they tend to have the ideas, they tend to have the energy, and they tend to want to do well. But the bottlenecks in terms of bureaucracy, working with the state institutions, are issues that they have expressed concern over. And I'm hoping that moving forward, the president will deal with some of these things.
Mabs, before I hand over to you, let me ask the Deputy Minister, the collaboration that your colleague spoke about. How are we going to do that going forward? How are we going to ensure that we bring all the parties together to help us achieve our climate change agenda?
Yes, we've started that already back home because, we have interministerial engagement and collaboration. For instance, our ministry, together with the Ministry of Agric, with Cocoa Board on their part, and then the Ministry of Environment with EPA on their side, have been collaborating to ensure that there's synergy in everything that we do. And so that is ongoing. But just to go back to yesterday, the president said something. And what he said was that all that we've done just last year is just the first step. Going forward, we are going to ramp up all what we've been doing. For instance, as we speak now, when we get back, it's made us, it's tasked us to come up with a document for cabinet. And that is to see how we can aggressively reforest the nation.
Okay.
That's it. And that is coming on board.
Thank you, Maps. I think Honorable Suhini wanted to add more, but I think because of time, I know we are coming back at 3 for more discussion on this, but the minister just finished one event beyond the talk. So yeah, we are talking, but beyond the talk, what do we do? And that event took place. So we're going to report in a further bulletin. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's my colleague Seth Kwame Watson giving me an update of what's been happening at the Climate Change Conference. We're going to take a quick breather. We'll be back with more. You're still watching Joy News Today with me, Mapisa CBD. Now, top civil society organizations have urged the Inspector General of Police to focus on addressing poor police handling of public protests, use of soldiers for policing, spate of armed robberies, among others. Now, these are issues which they say are of concern to Ghanaians. The organization are this morning holding a meeting with IGP Dr. George Akufo-Dampare to discuss issues of concern. Director General of the Police Public Affairs ACP Kwesi Ofoe explained to pressmen the importance the IGP attaches to this meeting.
The police administration decided this morning to meet leaders and captains of civil society to enable us brainstorm. The police administration is very much aware the powerful nature of civil society organizations. Though they are non-profit in nature, they are very powerful in shaping our social systems and general society, and have power even to shape political, economic, and other structures in society. Therefore, in humble terms, the IGP and members of his administration are here to listen to you, to hear you, to tell them a story that may help in reshaping our dear Ghana Police Service concept that may help to move the Ghana Police Service ahead and to be able to deal with community issues, society issues regarding crime fighting and providing the best of services in terms of safety and general security for our country.
Executive Director of Star Ghana Foundation, Ibrahim Tanko Amedu, spoke on behalf of the CSOs.
We raised issues around how public protests are handled generally and the need for action, to ensure that we improve and we strengthen the ways of handling public protests in ways that are consistent with the democratic context in which we live and work. We also raised issues around the involvement of the military in what usually are considered as policing activities that should be confined to the police. And some of the concerns raised around the involvement of the military also deal with the fact that maybe the SOPs are different and in most situations give birth to situations that we think are not the best. So we called on the IGP at that time to build a capacity of the police to deploy tactics and actions consistent with democratic policing. We suggested that they should look at ways of improving improving the way the police and military work together whenever there is the need for them to work on internal security issues. We also raised issues around the spate of robberies, the concerns that citizens have, the proliferation, use of small arms, the perception of corruption that undermine trust in our public institutions, and some of the impunity that we see that are associated with indiscipline, but which we also think that undermine public trust and confidence.
Take a quick break. We'll come back with business. And in business, Talo Ghana says it is investing $4.4 billion in its operations over a period of 10 years in the Ghana Maximization Plan. Now, this is to ensure that there's a conscious effort to develop Ghana's oil and gas assets while maintaining a minimum impact on the environment. Deputy Managing Director Mrs. Cynthia Lumo said this at the commissioning of the Talo Free SHS project in Nsuta. Emmanuel Osei has more in this report.
Talo Oil Ghana Limited and its Ghana Maximization Plan intend to invest in more in the oil and gas industry, resulting in productivity for the Ghanaian community. Deputy Managing Director of Talo Ghana, Mrs. Cynthia Lumo, says the oil company will create an avenue for sustainable growth through social interventions in the country. She pointed out that the oil company is contributing to education as well as other humanitarian interventions.
I want to assure the people of Ghana that Talo's continued commitment to develop Ghana's oil and gas resources will be executed safely and sustainably for the benefit of all stakeholders. Talo's Ghana Value Maximization Plan is on track to invest $4.4 billion over the next 10 years in responsible operations, yielding low cost and capital efficient operations that ensure the safety and well-being of our people while minimizing our environmental impact.
As part of Talos' efforts to effect change in the country of operation, the company has commissioned a 16-block boys' dormitory as part of its Talo Free SHS infrastructural project. The project, aimed at complementing government's flagship Free SHS project, is said to benefit over 400 students currently and even more subsequently. Mrs. Cynthia Lumo says the aim is geared towards impacting Ghanaian students with a sheltered learning environment. She said this at the commissioning of the project in Insutaman Catholic SHS.
Our shared prosperity philosophy means that Talo will remain committed to developing local content and skills and investing in social projects to improve the everyday life of our communities.
The Talo Free SHS project is estimated to cost over $10 million in a space of 5 years to support the Free SHS policy. Deputy Minister of Education, Mrs. Gifty Chum Ampofo, says delivery of education is the corporate responsibility of all. She says government will further extend the provision of education in STEM and TVET for senior school students.
After the second cycle, those who want to continue to the tertiary, we also have the student loan trust fund, where you no more need a guarantor. That policy and that bill had almost gone through cabinet and it's be in parliament soon. There is a funding package that we've already secured and approved by World Bank. Very soon the Ministry of Education together with the Ministry of Finance will launch this program to ensure that we further expand TVET facilities, and we also have funding in the same package for entrepreneurs, for TVET graduates who want to establish on their own.
From Kumasi, Emmanuel Osei reporting.
Now, the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research is charging the government to reassess the newly introduced taxes in this year's budget to ensure that the primary purpose of revenue mobilization is fully achieved. Director of ISA, Professor Peter Kwate, spoke at the launch of the State of the Economy Report for 2020. There's more in this report.
According to the director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISA, Professor Peter Kwate, Ghana is among the fastest growing economies in the world currently. He, however, reiterates the focus on the agriculture and manufacturing industry to boost the country's economic growth post-COVID-19.
Growing, you find that agriculture and manufacturing, the labor-intensive sectors of the economy, are not growing as much as one would have expected. And if that is not the case, that is not happening, it's going to affect our job creation efforts. Because these are critical areas that employ more people. So you want to channel resources into, apart from the other sectors, ensure that these two critical sectors grow at a very high pace to absorb labor. Of course, COVID-19 has affected a lot of things. But as we move out of the negative effects and record positive growth, we ought to grow in the areas that are critical, rather than growing in services, low-value services, retail. We need to grow in the manufacturing sector. We need to grow more in agriculture.
Professor Peter Kwate believes redundant taxes should be reviewed and scrapped if the need arises. This, according to him, will help in the country's revenue mobilization.
The government needs the revenue. We enjoy the freebies, so it has to be paid for. But what I'm saying is some are not yielding the needed revenue. So like the sanitation levy, for instance, the last, the quarter 2 2021 figures show that they are not yielding much. It is the COVID-19 levy, health levy, as well as the financial sector levy that is raking in the revenue. But sanitation levy, for instance, is not bringing in much. So a review of these taxes to see whether they are being efficient or we are rather spending more money collecting this little revenue. You scrap them and replace them with something that will bring in more revenue to the system.
That's it for business. We take a break for sports.
Time now for sports on Joy News today with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. Head coach of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Dr. Prosper Nate Ogum, has called on supporters to lower their expectations of winning the Ghana Premier League despite a resounding win in his first game as the boss of the Porcupine Warriors. According to him, the club hitherto had no module and he is introducing one to the players, which could take time to yield results.
Came in with a lot of individual brilliance, ability to look at where the spaces were, when to dribble, when to pass, when not to pass. I think he has a brighter future. He's very young. Technically, he's a gifted player. I've been telling him that we need to work on his strength and then his defensive abilities. Once he can provide defensive responsibilities when we lose the ball, I think he will be a complete player. Hitherto, the old guys didn't have any game model. So I'm bringing in a game model. So it is my responsibility to ensure that they understand the game model, the concept within the game model, how to get it defensively and offensively. So to me, even though those who came in are many and those who were also left are many, I think as games unfold, they are going to understand themselves automatically without even thinking about what decisions to take. It's early in the process.
We talk about Hazaka's ladies now, and their head coach Yusuf Basige says his team is not under pressure to win the maiden edition of the CAF Women's Champions League. He said though their ultimate target is to be champion, it is not considered a must.
You can see that we were taking it easy. So that is the psyche of players. You know, we didn't do any intensive work. We made them to do loosening up with a fun game, which is the football, which they all enjoyed very well. So I think that there is no pressure on us at all. That is why we didn't put the pressure on us by saying that we are coming to win the ultimate by all means. No, it is our target. The support that they've been giving us with the necessary and the needed prayers was needed, because we are here in the name of Ghana. So here is Hazaka's ladies of Ghana. So Ghanaians should rally behind us.
Now to some UEFA Champions League stories, and tonight the Europe's interclub biggest competition return, and Liverpool, the likes of Real Madrid, the likes of Sheriff Tiraspol are going to be in action. 3 Ghanaians will be playing tonight. But let's bring you the fixtures. AC Milan will come against FC Porto. Real Madrid will play Shakhtar Donetsk. Borussia Dortmund will play Ajax Amsterdam. Kudus Mohamed is likely to be in action. Liverpool will come against Atletico Madrid. There's Manchester City versus Club Brugge, where Kamal Sowa is likely to be in action for Club Brugge. RB Leipzig will come against Paris Saint-Germain. Sheriff Tiraspol will play Inter Milan. Sheriff Tiraspol, there's Ghanaian in there, Edmond Addo, who is likely to make his debut appearance in the Black Stars when Milovan Raja names his squad tomorrow. Sporting Lisbon will also be coming at Besiktas. These are the fixtures for tonight's UEFA Champions League. On this note, we say thanks very much for joining us for Sports on Joy News today with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah.
That's how we end Joy News today. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. You can also visit our Facebook page. It's Joy News Live. My name is Mapisa CBD. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.